you're wondering who's behind the mask, I'm Sareena Rai, and I play music. Been in many different bands since 2000 in Kathmandu. Even before that, I was in other bands in Kathmandu, but you know, they were just one-off. She wants to form a band. She wants to play it fun. But I don't understand. All this must be junk. By 2000, end of 1999, Rai Ko Ris was born, and we basically started doing lots of punk DIY shows. And with any band and anybody who wanted to play music. It was completely self-organized, put up your own flyers, make your own shows happen. And in the beginning, it was very rare and strange for people to hear a band that was very politicized, but also writing their own music, not doing cover songs. And later it caught on. A lot more people got influenced by not just our band, by all the other bands that existed at the time. I remember organizing a show where there'd be 5-6 bands playing. Everyone would be playing for half an hour each. The place, for example, House of Music, would be packed. It's a tiny venue, but when it's packed, it's so fun, it's so great. You get that real intimacy between audience and band. And yeah, everyone would show up, everyone would know about it because we'd put flyers up everywhere, and kids would show up from all over just to attend a punk show. 2015, 2016, my good friend, who's like a brother to me, Saman Gurung, he's in the band Anota Prasna and Rog. He said, let's start a record label. And I said, sure. That's how we started Rhys Records.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Infoshop's kind of started as go on tour with my band, or would just buy books and have them on me. And I thought it would be really cool if other people could have access to this stuff, because in Kathmandu there weren't, any places like this where you could just read stuff that was radical and political, but not mainstream political. Now it's eventually arrived in Bhaktapur because of a really nice combination of things, which is good friendship with Subha Kayastha, who runs Body and Data, which is the office where we're sitting right now. This is the meeting room of Body and Data. Body and Data have been working with online surveillance, privacy issues, basically sexuality also, and issues that are about your own privacy and consent. It's also feminist and queer run, so for me it made 100% sense. Yeah, this is like maybe the 15th reincarnation of the Infoshop. And I like the fact that it's women run. General perception of punk rock has always been the same, which is, oh, what a rowdy bunch of rabble-rousers. I think it's difficult because our music is difficult to digest for the mainstream population. Plus you can't hear the lyrics easily because we're always screaming and shouting. And yet, I think, in this case, speaking from my perspective again, being a girl, being up on stage and playing, suddenly people would stop and look and be like, is she just like one of those guys, or is she saying something different? So in a way, you get that attention from your gender, whether you like it or not. And people suddenly people who never heard of punk rock before, never liked this shit, would just stop in their tracks and be like, there's so much energy coming out of here, and apparently the band is talking about this and that. And look, on the side of the band there's this distro where people are distributing some pamphlets about social political stuff, and then in between songs, or the songs themselves, when the songs are being introduced, they're about this and this topic. And suddenly you get people who never were interested in this kind of music or scene or loud noise interested. You asking me whether my band has opened doors or not, I have no idea. You'll have to ask kids out there whether they have or not. I have personally received communication from kids who do say that, you know, it has changed their lives or it has made them realize many things. And there are kids who just don't give a shit, so it's fine. It's, you know, try to gather momentum to do small actions or do small things. And it's worked sometimes it hasn't worked, and I think it's a process of, you know, trial and error, and eventually I've come to my own personal realizations about many types of actions that I've done. Oh yeah, there's one thing I want to say actually. I think for people from the West, I think they don't understand a lot of the nuances in our own cultures in different societies in Asia, and they come here and they're like, wow, there's punk music, there's this, that's so cool, and they kind of make friends very quickly with, you know, radical people, you know, with mohawks or whatever, you know, and they forget that there is patriarchy, there is class issues, and there's caste issues, very complex in Nepal. So, you know, often they don't realize those things, and they're very excited by what they see, just the image of what they see. But there's so much depth to our culture that they need to really fully comprehend before, I think, getting involved in anything greater than just being a tourist. I think they need to be more sensitive to those issues. It would be really nice to see that, just in the same way as when we go to their countries and we try to take a back seat and see where they're coming from and appreciate what's going on in their context. As a foreigner, you have to take off those glasses and get down to the nitty-gritty and do some serious investigation before you start making presumptions about a punk scene or any subculture. You have to look behind the scenes and see, really, you know, are people putting their, you know, hearts and minds where it really belongs, and whether they're talking about, you know, whether they practice what they preach, as Napalm Death said.